Excellent stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an official live episode of the Moonshot NFT Podcast. We are reporting outside of NFT London 2022, outside the QE2 Conference Centre, right in the heart of London. Westminster Abbey, Big Ben, right behind us. You can hear the sounds of London, hopefully, in the background as well. And so, yeah, we've been down at NFT London, 2-day event. We're on the back end of day 2 now. And safe to say, it's been a pretty interesting experience. Matt, how would you describe this event for our wonderful listeners?
I would say busy, new, kind of chaotic. There's a lot going on. Perhaps our cameraman could pan round actually, and you'll see the Bored and Hungry McCain Fries collaboration, Regen Fries, which if you're a previous episode, if you're a listener of any previous episodes, you might have heard of us talk about the Bored and Hungry company that is one of the companies that have used their ape as a they've used the IP, the intellectual property rights from their ape to create this fast food business. So that's been popular. A popular place to be for people trying fries over the weekend or over the 2 days.
Queue of fries for this whole weekend.
But there's a lot going on. There's essentially, like, I believe 800 speakers in short, tiny blocks. So some talks are as little as 5 minutes, some 10, some 25, and it's in this building, which is a great building, but it's over like 6 different floors, so there's lots of rooms to go to. It's a little bit chaotic in terms of finding your way around.
It's a pretty mental setup. So of course the QE2 being right in the heart of London doesn't have the glory of being one big spacious venue. It's split into 6 different floors, lots of different rooms, so almost a bit of a labyrinth to make our way around.
Yes.
But the structure of the event is very interesting because it's split into all sorts of different, I guess, little stages where they tackle all the different themes where NFTs are being used. So be it across art, be it across the legal investing tax side of things, be it in the gaming, be it just the pure collectible side of it, like the business side of things, and they're all split off into their own little subsections. And as you just said, they've got 800 speakers for a 2-day event, which if anyone tries and crunch the numbers, you can quickly tell that the average speaking time those speakers have is going to be relatively slim.
Yeah.
And so I think the maximum is around 25 minutes where they have these panel discussions, so a whole host of different people. But they go right down to 5-minute sessions, 10-minute sessions, which, as you can imagine, are pretty high intensity and pretty speedy to blast through, but a real diverse range of speakers. And what is quite nice is the whole ethos of this event was all around giving the community members a voice. So of course, NFT land, there's lots of people building at the moment, kind of quite quietly, particularly as the interest has waned in NFTs, as it does during a sort of typical bad spiral in the market, as we're experiencing at the moment. And so these people are building along, and it sort of provides this forum and a big stage for all of the real people at the heart of the communities who are building these fantastic projects, these fantastic businesses, even these fantastic things just for art, for charity, whatever it is, to come together, to have a voice, to have a stage, to have a platform, and ultimately share those ideas, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that it really sort of does highlight just how much is going on, you know. So this is run by NFT NYC, so that is which has been running since 2019. So in New York City, the most recent NFT NYC, which is a very similar sort of format, a couple of days or 2 or 3 days, they had 16,000 people go to that versus the 2,500 people that are at NFT NYC London. So it shows the differences. This is their first event in London, and I think that 2,500 compared with 16,000 highlights the differences between state of the, or kind of progress of the NFT market, UK versus US, but also they had something like 1,500 speakers, which they whittled down to 800 speakers, and all of the one of the amazing things that kind of I thought or was hit by is just how many different subjects there are. There are, you know, art, film, gaming, photography, fashion, collectibles. There's just so much going on. There's then the subject of DAOs. There's the subject of kind of music. It's just NFTs are being used for so much.
It's very eye-opening because, of course,
yeah, massively.
When we first came across it, you know, the only real use case that we all jumped to and understood initially was like the profile pictures and sort of collecting these rare assets that people have a bit of hyper speculation around, very much like collecting Pokemon cards. Very rudimentary level and use of this technology, whereas you come somewhere like this and you hear about the crazy things people are doing, and even some of the interesting problems that they're tackling. It's just very eye-opening.
Yeah,
to see.
And like the last talk that I've just sat in on was a guy talking about more so going into the future. It's not necessarily happening yet, but is, I believe, in the States, will be happening over here in the UK, is to be able, if you own a house, and you will be able to kind of break that house into digital assets, into sections, and so literally almost sell a brick from your chimney to release some equity from your house. And then, so, because his example, if you're a lady in your 80s, 90s, and you've got to pay to get your hip replaced or something, and you haven't got the funds, but you own a house that's worth 800,000 and it's all paid off or whatever, then for you to be able to split that house into chunks and sell off little bits of it to release the equity and go and spend that money on your new hip.
Get the new hip in.
That could, so that his thought was, or I can't remember where he said this data was coming from, but that could release, they thought about 5% of the homeowners in the UK might do that, which would release something like 300 billion into the economy, and so the Bank of England were for it. So that gives you an idea, and they would be sort of digital assets, could be a form of NFTs, which is quite I believe futurist was in his title, the guy that was doing this. So it's just an indication of how NFTs, or kind of he was suggesting they won't even be called NFTs in the future.
It would just be a thing.
Yeah, because
he
again referred back to, he was in his 60s and remembers when people used to talk about HTML sites, and now obviously everyone just talks about websites.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people working in the background on stuff that we probably haven't even thought of.
Solving lots of interesting problems. And I know we've talked on this podcast before about one of the use cases that made the whole concept of NFTs really click in my mind, which was all around the ticketing and using it as the tickets for events, with the example being, God, imagine if you went to an early Beatles gig all those years ago and the ticket was actually an NFT, and what would that NFT, from being one of the first people to see the Beatles before they're blown up, be worth now?
Yeah.
All the way through to modern concepts of, imagine Drake went on world tour, used NFTs as his tickets, and as a result, the tickets were all, funky artwork. You could have special editions of it that would also function as your VIP pass, and then get into the whole smart contract mechanism where actually it could all be written up. So when people buy the tickets, all of the funds are automatically distributed. X% goes to Drake, X% to the venue, X% to the staff, and even potentially some of the sales royalties back to the holders in some scenarios, and all that interesting stuff. And of course, we're at an NFT event here in London, and lo and behold, they are experimenting with the whole NFTs as tickets as well.
Yeah.
So the company behind NFT London, a company called NFT Cred, have been running this event for a few years, as you said, and they are very much iterating each year how they can use the NFTs as the actual tickets. And so, in reality, we had to buy our ticket, and then it was through Eventbrite and a typical PDF,
very
and that's how we got one of
non-NFT
these.
way.
So very, very Web 2 traditional way. However, what they have done is quite interesting, because every ticket holder has then been able to claim a NFT for being here, and they've actually collaborated with a whole group of very cool UK-based artists, obviously mark the NFT London occasion, and so you randomly get allocated one of these cool NFTs as a nice memento, which is very cool. I think the VIP
exceptionally cool for the VIP ticket holders who get the commemorative NFT designed by Xcopy, who I didn't realise is London-based. That has been confirmed because he is anonymous, right?
But rumours he might be milling around.
He could be here, and we wouldn't even know. But an exceptionally kind of well-known artist in the digital space, NFT world for sure.
Very high profile. I think for our listeners is almost like could be compared to like the Banksy of the NFT world. So his NFTs are typically one of ones that they go for ridiculous sums. He's very, very high profile. And so if you had a VIP, you get a limited edition hex copy ticket, which is very cool.
Yeah, which is nice.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those on the secondary market.
Yep.
But also then all of the speakers, this is quite interesting, have their own NFT as well. So we were fortunate enough to bump into our friend Steve Collins, who is a specialist crypto accountant. And Steve had a little speaking slot here yesterday morning, and after seeing him speak, I was able to go online and claim my very own Steve Collins NFT, which is quite the privilege. So a new little asset that I've got in my wallet there to remember that epic talk by Steve.
Yeah, I think the one other subject that came up yesterday I was very interested in is how individual holders are using the IP. So if the IP rights, if the intellectual property rights are included with the ownership of your NFT token, as is the case in the CryptoPunks, as is the case in Bored Ape Yacht Club, as is the case in World of Women. So they had this panel of punks talking about how they use the IP of their punks, and kind of the majority seem to be using it to build like a personal brand. We will share some pictures for sure on our Twitter page and other socials of a selfie that we will get with Crypto Novo, who is a punk, and he dresses as his punk. I mean, it's a big long story that we won't go into, but if you follow us on socials, you will see the picture, and it's quite memorable, and there is, that's partly to do with his personal brand, because that is he wants to be recognised. He's and that's the way he's using his punk, and remain anonymous, exactly. But that is also a subject that we're going to cover on a future episode as well, because it is a growing sort of use case for NFTs, and certainly as an entrepreneur in terms of like monetizing your NFT investments. And it's something that I think even within the Moonshot DAO we'll talk about in the future, because it's just an opportunity that exists for NFT holders of particular projects, and it's been great to kind of hear examples of how people are doing that here, which is the benefit of coming to events like this, because you can actually talk to real people and find out what are they doing, because outside of these rare kind of IRL, person to person live events, all of these conversations just happen on Twitter and in Discords and stuff, and you don't know what to believe, don't know what to believe, and it's hard to engage in conversations where you actually find out what are other people doing.
And that's what I've kind of found quite eye-opening, and a refreshing reminder that actually this whole community and ecosystem doesn't just exist online, in Discord, on Twitter, on OpenSea, which is like where 364 days out of the year pretty much, that is where it exists for us. So to actually come here, meet people face to face, obviously see what the other NFT holders are like. I must say I've been quite impressed by the diversity of just everything, ages, ethnic backgrounds, particularly gender, like some very strong female representation, which has been great. And we've listened to some great talks from some female founders behind some of the leading female projects, which again has been very eye-opening. And just, it feels very like still that we're at something very early in its life cycle.
Absolutely.
And that all this stuff is bubbling, all this development is building, all these communities are slowly growing, and it feels like we are working towards this precipice of mass adoption, when hopefully a lot of these ideas will come to fruition, and as NFTs become more mainstream, get the user traction that they need, and this whole thing will just become more and more integrated into our everyday life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And just it's a reminder, we talked about last episode, just the existence of endless opportunities. Yes, things might be cheaper than they were, or less valuable than they were a few months back, and it's easy to see nothing but sort of doom and gloom, but that is very much not the case, especially in this world where people are working hard and building something for the future. And now is just the perfect time to start doing some research and to find out what are the opportunities? And there is something for everyone. You know, if you're not interested in art, that's fine. You might be interested in music. If you're not interested in music, you might be interested in film. And there is the opportunity to get involved in so much stuff, like the Nouns DAO, the Nouns.WTF that we listened to their talk yesterday. And that is just a collective group of individuals that it's an auction that happens every day. I mean, it's a big cost if you want to like buy and mint a Nouns. I think we will for sure. But it's you know, when you dig into it, it's a group that, by the sounds of it, you can reasonably easily get involved with if you've got an idea. And yeah, we'll do a full episode on it for sure, because it's for anyone looking for opportunities. It's a good option, I would have thought.
Yeah, 100%. It's very cool. It's very cool. Now, one interesting little tidbit for our listeners, which is quite funny, that I've been reminded by saying at the police van that's just next to us there. So I remember hearing stories of when NFT NYC was on, 16,000 people, obviously going to this big NFT event in New York during a time when the market was a lot higher as well. And of course, you got a lot of people there gathering who are all the holders of very expensive NFTs, and so actually quite a popular target for a lot of criminals. And so there was lots of people, you know, going to this NFT event, and I think there's a case of people getting mugged, people like cybercrime happening. So if you had your phone or your crypto wallet in your bag or your pocket, criminals trying to do things with it, which was quite interesting. And so I totally forgot about all of this.
Do you think that's why the police are there?
No, I don't. It just prompted me.
Maybe.
But because what did remind me of it was because when we came to this event yesterday, I thought, NFT event, I'm going to don all of my NFT merch. I've got my Mutant Ape t-shirt and also my Moonbirds hat. So as I'm walking along, it's very obvious that I have a couple of NFTs. And when I got to the event, I realised that I was like the only person here wearing NFT merch. Before we then sat in a beautiful talk all about crime, and I had a brief little reminder, which was quite interesting. So,
but you made it back today unscathed, from what I could see.
There has been no crime, and I have wore a more casual.
Which also reminds us that no one in London knows what a Mutant Ape t-shirt is, or knows what a Moonbird is, and knows that it would have cost you.
We're still early.
Yeah, it would have cost you like a 5-figure sum to buy into those projects. So
there we are. Right. Well, to wrap us up, Matt, how would you sum up this event in one sentence?
I think. I mean, full of opportunity. Like, I think very, very early. I think, you know, early to the point where they've tried to cram so much into these 2 days. It's like so chaotic, and there's almost too much to take in. It's overwhelming, especially if you want to listen to what's been talked about and then go and talk to some of the people that are speaking and just talk to other people that are here as well. There's just too much going on in too little time. But that's I think because they just want to, you know, they want people to see the full extent of this. They want people to see kind of what, you know, what's being created and what we're part of. And you know, hopefully, or I don't know, we should perhaps consider going to the NFT NYC, which has been confirmed at the 12th to the 14th of April 2023. So maybe we could do a remote special edition episode from there. But like, and don't wear your t-shirt just in case. But you know, I can imagine if that was 16,000 this year, it's probably going to be 20,000 plus next year. You know, they've committed to doing this every year in London, 2,500 this year. I'm sure it's going to be kind of double that next year. It's exciting. It's a reminder that we are exceptionally early, which is great because that's just the best time to get involved in anything. And so for me, it's just a confirmation that we're in a really good space. We should do more research. We should somehow try and carve out the time to spend more time, you know, looking into where these opportunities exist and then making sure that we're getting involved. And so that's been our sort of continued recommendation for listeners, I think, since the very start, is like, there's an opportunity here. If you're interested, do your own research, but reach out and let's kind of talk about it as well, because that's the best way to achieve anything, is just that, you know, do it in groups, do it in teams. Join the Discord so that we can start having conversations about things, ideas that you may have, ideas that we may have that you might be able to help with. Yeah, there's just loads to be talked about, I think.
Absolutely.
And you?
Absolutely. What a long sentence. I would summarise it as certainly eye-opening, exciting, inspiring, and somewhat chaotic, I think, because very fast-paced, loads of stuff going on. Eye-opening, a good reminder that NFTs are more than just these collectible digital assets. There's so much that can be used for across all these, plethora of different industries, and just very cool to see all the different companies, personalities that are working on it. So a nice little burst of enthusiasm and optimism for me off the back of this, and looking forward to next year.
Good stuff.
There we have it. Well, ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure. Matt?
Yeah.
A pleasure.
Nice to try this outside of a building for the first time. Hopefully it's come across in a good way. But thanks for listening, and please continue to do so. Like, subscribe, and share. And I'll leave you to the last line.
To the moon.
Go. Love it.
Excellent.